My parents kicked me out of the house at 14 because of bad grades. I went from being homeless to owning a business with a large income, but they tried to take credit for my achievements. I exposed their bad behavior. I am 27 years old. My parents kicked me out of the house because of bad grades. Even though our family has been living in the USA for 2 generations, my parents haven't learned anything from Americans about raising children. They literally ruined my entire childhood by fixating on my school grades. In their opinion, only good grades lead to a successful life. The situation was worsened by my sister, who was a year older than me and was the top student in her class. I was constantly compared to her both at school and at home. Things were better in elementary school. I got A's in most subjects. My sister graduated from elementary school with straight A's and became the top student in her class, while I didn't make it into the top 10. That's when my parents' disappointment began. In middle school, after every exam grade, my parents would pull out my sister's report card from the previous year and compare it to mine. When this game of comparison started, my grades began to drop even more. With each drop in grades, my parents' anger grew. From straight A's in elementary school, my grades slipped to B's and C's. Every time my grades worsened, my parents lost their composure. Without resorting to physical violence, they used any other means of punishment. I was deprived of dinner the night before an exam so that I could focus on studying. A month before exams, they took away my video games, locked me at home, forbade me from going out to play, and didn't buy ice cream, chocolate, or other favorite treats. Every time I asked them for something, they would say, "Get good grades and then you'll get it." Over time, I stopped asking for anything, realizing that I wouldn't get anything anyway. My parents own a small grocery store on the next street. My grandparents were immigrants. Grandfather worked as a laborer and grandmother as a cleaner. They each worked 2 jobs to raise my father and his 2 brothers. Father had to drop out of school early to support the family. He has been working since he was 11 years old. Mom has a similar story. Mom and Dad worked hard from their teenage years to save money and open this small store on the street corner. They believe that only good grades will help escape poverty. We are not as poor as they make it out to be. A typical Asian habit of saving for a rainy day, denying oneself today's needs. Although I appreciate their hard work and faith in the educational system, they have clearly overdone it. School grades only matter if you have to repeat a year, and that's not so terrible either. Yes, it sets you back a year from your peers, but it's not the end of the world. However, by subjecting a child to such ordeals at such a tender age, they doomed me to inevitable failure. In childhood, I really tried to match my sister's grades, but I couldn't do it. I struggled to memorize information. However, I was good at calculations that didn't require memorization. But as my parents' punishments became harsher, I began to rebel more. I deliberately skipped classes and wandered around the school grounds. I wrote silly jokes and song lyrics in my exam papers to anger them even more. My parents punished me by locking me in the basement with textbooks, only letting me out after completing all the assignments. On weekends and holidays, I was forbidden to play outside. All my video games and comics were taken away, and new ones were never bought. But I was a resourceful child. No matter what they did, I found a way to get out. My parents left for their store in the morning and returned only in the evenings, so I spent entire days playing outside. When my parents found out that I was sneaking out in their absence, they started taking me with them to the store on weekends and during summer vacations. It was supposed to be a punishment, but it turned out that I liked it. I loved interacting with people, helping them choose what products to buy, and working at the cash register. My parents didn't like this. They didn't want me to run their store. They wanted me to become a doctor or an engineer. Any other profession would be considered a disgrace for an Asian family. One day, I casually mentioned that I wanted to become a salesperson because I'm good at selling. My parents were horrified because, in their opinion, only uneducated people go into sales. They invested so much money in my education so that I could get a respectable job as a doctor or an engineer. This continued until I drove them crazy by getting a failing grade in my first year of high school. My parents lost their minds because I had to repeat the year. They exhausted all their methods of punishment. They lashed out at me as if I had committed a terrible crime. There was nothing left with which they could punish me further. Everything except physical violence was used to set me on the right path. Verbal abuse and psychological bullying reached their peak. They declared that I had shamed them and said they could no longer endure the humiliation I brought upon the family. They kicked me out of the house, saying that I was on my own now and that I should never return home, even if I were dying of hunger and cold. I was devastated. Despite my disobedience, I never thought about running away from home. I was completely unprepared for this. My parents didn't allow me to socialize, so I had almost no friends to turn to for help. I was either locked up at home or taken to the store to help. When the initial fears of living on the street subsided, I felt freedom. I felt immense relief that I could now do whatever I wanted. I spent the first night on a bench in the park. The next day, I went to the city center to look for a job as a salesperson. I knew I was good at it. I visited a dozen stores before I got the job at a cosmetics shop. It wasn't easy. I had neither qualifications nor experience, but the store owner urgently needed staff. He tasked me with selling an expensive lipstick to a customer who came in for face cream. I don't know how, but I managed to do it. The owner thought I was passionate about my job, and he decided I was quite charming since I could sell cosmetics to young women. He hired me. The pay was low, but he provided me with a place to sleep. Later, when sales increased, I asked for a commission on each sale made. This was the beginning of my journey towards a successful entrepreneurial career. My parents thought that working in their grocery store was a punishment. They didn't even suspect that it was actually beneficial for me. This experience gave me an insight into real life. It's a pity that they never realized my potential and didn't understand that practical experience is far more valuable than mindless textbook cramming. After that, I changed jobs in search of better pay. One of my employers even offered to pay for my college education, but I declined. I had a different goal. I wanted to start my own business. At the age of 21, I founded a company that provides sales services for other small businesses. My company is involved in closing deals for other companies. We generate sales and revenue for them, and they pay us substantial commissions. Currently, our company works with a wide range of products, from credit cards to insurance, cosmetics, and books. We collaborate with companies from various industries. This didn't happen overnight or in a year. It took more than 5 years to stabilize the business. I started with 5 hired employees and 1 client who sold mattresses and pillows. Now our company has 200 agents who help more than 50 companies sell thousands of products. But enough rambling, let's get to the point. For the past few weeks, my mom has been literally hounding me. She followed me on Facebook and Instagram. I have a public profile, and she goes through my old photos and posts, liking them. I don't know if she's doing it intentionally to show her presence or accidentally while enlarging my photos. But one thing is clear, my lifestyle has astonished my parents. They considered me a loser who would never be able to achieve anything without good grades. And here I am, earning 6-figure sums a month. A week ago, my mom wrote to me saying she misses me and wants me to come back home. I saw her message but left it unread. She showers me with praise, saying how proud they are that their son has become successful. Now she persistently invites me to visit. But the thing is, no matter how much I ignore her messages, I can't stop thinking about them, just like my childhood trauma. I really want to punish them for all the humiliations I experienced because of them. I want to come home and flog my successful lifestyle right in front of them. But on the other hand, my girlfriend thinks I should stay away from them and not get caught in their emotional traps. She is convinced that they will eventually start preying on my guilt to extort money from me. What do you think I should do? So I suggest pausing this video right now and answering the author's question. And now we move on to the update. First update. Hello everyone, it's going to be fun now. Despite my girlfriend's warning not to meet with my parents, part of me still wanted to show them my success, so I went to their house. My father wasn't there, but my mom and sister were waiting for me. My father is still unaware of my success. He thinks that I make money by deceiving naive people and wants nothing to do with me. Mom apologized to me and said that I suffered because of my father's old-fashioned beliefs that good grades solve everything in life. It's funny how Mom made Dad the scapegoat, even though she also actively participated in my struggles. I pointed out that she was actually stricter with punishments. She brushed it off, saying she was just following Father's instructions as a good wife. When I tried to corner her, she laughed and said those were stories from 100 years ago, and that it's time for me to forget everything, and we should reunite as a happy family. A happy family, as if. I asked my sister how she was doing. She said she completed her master's degree in literature but is having trouble finding a teaching job due to poor communication and social skills. Although I knew the reason for her problems, I pretended to be interested and asked why her excellent grades didn't help her find a job. She blamed our parents for her failures. She literally spent her entire life locked away, studying to please and impress our parents. She exhausted herself to the limit, fully immersing herself in books. She was a year older than me, so I knew how isolated she was at school. She had almost no friends. Mom didn't allow her to make friends because, in her opinion, most kids didn't do well in school and could have a bad influence on her. Do you see the problem? Despite all her hard studying, she can't find a job. Even if they are ready to hire her based on qualifications, the lack of communication skills deprives her of the opportunity. Seeing how her life turned out, I'm glad I was a rebel. Otherwise, I would have ended up in the same situation as her. My parents also tried to isolate me, not allowing me to interact with other kids so I could focus on studying. How wrong they were! My sister joined me in accusing her mother of their poor parenting skills. Mom started crying and very cleverly shifted all the blame onto Dad. After we finished blaming Mom for our traumatic childhood, I asked her why she invited me. She flattered me for a long time, saying how proud she was of my success. The truth is, she had no idea what I was doing. As I mentioned, for an Asian parent, success means being a doctor, an engineer, or at the very least holding a high-paying position in a bank. They don't understand entrepreneurship. For them, any business management is the same as running a grocery store, which they consider something lowly. Being in this house, I remembered so many moments from my childhood when my parents convinced me that I would end up on the street as a failure. They even made me believe that I had mental issues and that something was wrong with me because I couldn't get an A+. Oh yes, I almost forgot to mention. My parents even took me to a psychotherapist because they thought I had concentration problems in my studies. After 2 or 3 sessions, the therapist scolded them for putting too much pressure on me and said that I was a completely normal child with a normal level of intelligence for my age. My girlfriend bet with me that my mom invited me to ask for money. She lost the bet because my mom hasn't asked for anything yet. But from her behavior, it's clear that the money issue is not far off. Since then, my mom constantly writes to me, and every time a message from her appears on my phone screen, my girlfriend bets $1 that it will be about money. I win every time because my mom hasn't mentioned money yet. But it seems I'm going to lose soon because my mom invited me to dinner this weekend. I know she's trying to create a nice picture before asking for something. I just got a message that she's hosting a dinner for me this weekend. I'll write an update about this in the next post. Update 2. Hello everyone. I got my sweet revenge on my parents. I don't think they'll ever call me again after such humiliation. In the last post, I mentioned a message from my mom inviting me to dinner. I replied that I'm busy and won't be able to come. Yes, I intentionally showed my importance. When she continued to insist, I asked why she was being so nice to me if my father still thinks I'm earning money illegally. She said that it is the father who is organizing the dinner as a gesture of reconciliation. She claimed that the father is proud of me and wants to apologize in person. I asked, "What do you mean by organizing? It will just be the 4 of us, right?" She replied, "No, we have invited all the close friends and relatives who live nearby." I said, "Of course I will come. There couldn't be a better opportunity to get revenge for childhood trauma." Mom asked me to wear my best clothes and arrive on time. The rebel in me awoke. I put on a sports sweatshirt, hiking shorts, and a cap, and showed up 2 hours late. For Asian parents, this is a disaster. Showing up in shorts to an event is almost a crime. Mom called me non-stop, but I didn't answer. I just sent a couple of messages saying I was running late without any explanations. I'm sure this made them very angry. They have a thing about looking perfect in front of everyone. If guests were coming to our house, my parents would spend at least 2 days cleaning every corner, making a list of dishes, and placing every item in the perfect spot. Guests were served food on the finest china, and if they stayed overnight, they got the best bedding. They call it the culture of hospitality, but sometimes they clearly go overboard for social approval. My parents booked an entire section on the restaurant's rooftop. When I showed up looking so casual, I immediately received a look full of hidden discontent. Since I earned more than anyone else present, that look was disguised as a fake smile of approval. My parents were also annoyed, but they didn't show it. They hugged me and raised a toast in my honor, singing praises. It was the first time my father hugged me. The hall was full of people, and for a moment I thought I could just silently endure it, have dinner, and leave. But the way my parents were passing off my success as their own infuriated me. They boasted about my achievements, my lifestyle, expensive things, and most importantly, they took all the credit for raising me to be a good person. My aunt intervened and asked, "Didn't you kick him out of the house?" I burst into laughter, applauding her bravery. My parents' faces turned crimson with embarrassment, but they quickly recovered, claiming that it was a way to set me on the right path, and that it was only thanks to their punishments that I succeeded in life. I lost my composure when they said that. I blurted out, "Exactly, guys, I owe all my success to my toxic parents. Do you know what the best decision you made for me was? They took me out of the house to live on the street." Yes, exactly, like that. You so confidently claimed that you always knew I would achieve something? Funny, because I remember a completely different version. Wasn't it you who said I would become a loser, a homeless, drunk, or even worse, a criminal? Wow, remember how you deprived me of a family vacation as punishment for bad grades? You locked me at home for a whole week with minimal food. I was shut in the basement without proper ventilation for hours, forced to study lessons. You're right, all of this was necessary to make me better. Maybe everyone in this room should do the same with their children so they become successful. There it is, the secret recipe for success, you know. It was a real monologue. You could say that all the resentment and pain that had been building up in me for years just burst out. Mom tried to intervene, but I brushed her off and continued my speech. My sister tried to calm me down by stroking my arms, but I was uncontrollable. My parents were crying, and honestly, I think they would have preferred to die than to endure this humiliation in front of the whole family. But I absolutely didn't care about their reputation. My sister was also standing nearby and sobbing. Some of you might ask why I feel so warmly towards my sister if she never stood up for me as an older sister. But I don't blame her at all. She was a child just like me. She's only a year older. Her parents caused her more harm than they did to me. At least I was able to rebel, enjoy life, run away and play, and eventually build a better life for myself. She, on the other hand, lost all independence, submitting to our parents. She couldn't enjoy her childhood. Even now she suffers from low self-esteem and continues to live with our parents. I offered her a job at my company. She even took personal development courses, but they helped little. I suggested she start working for me to develop communication skills, then she can choose a suitable career for herself. I completely severed ties with my parents. I told Mom never to contact me again, and I admitted that I only talked to her out of revenge. I blocked her. I intend to maintain a relationship only with my sister. She praised me for shaming our parents. She said it was the best revenge because they don't care about money or anything else, except their reputation as perfect parents in the eyes of others. After that dinner, some of our relatives and acquaintances reached out to me, expressing regret about what I had to go through. I said that I didn't reveal the truth about my parents to gain anyone's pity. I just wanted everyone to know that pressuring a child for grades does more harm than good. My sister is a living example of poor upbringing. Well, that's where the story ends. Be sure to write in the comments what you think about it. In my opinion, obviously the parents are crazy. The author did a great job with all this revenge. As for his position that such a method of upbringing yields no results, I can't quite agree. I think it does yield results. And the author is a living example of that. I think there are simply hundreds of examples where children from such families eventually achieve success. After all, what did the parents want, essentially? They wanted him to achieve success. Well, he did achieve success. Why is success in quotes? Because essentially his childhood was ruined, yet he still achieved success. Success? In whose eyes? The public, the parents. Did he even meet all this success, all this money? It's unclear. Perhaps we are just looking at a broken person with money. Whether this money brings him joy or not, we don't know. In general, write in the comments if you agree with me, and also watch our previous video, which you will see. Good luck to you here.